rolling. What's up, guys? Welcome back. Or if it's your first time here, welcome for the first time. This video is about microphones, processing, general tips and tricks on how to make your voice sound good for streaming YouTube videos or any other reason you would have to record your voice for something. This isn't gonna go super in depth on, different microphone types or studio gear, preamps, stuff like that. This is more just gonna be This is more just gonna be a general video of mic goes into the computer, good voice comes out. As long as you have a microphone and some sort of audio production software, these tips can probably be, recreated on whatever software you're using. I'm using Adobe Audition with a Shure SM7B dynamic microphone, which is going into my Cloud Lifter, which is a preamp that sort of gives it just a little extra gain because this is a very quiet microphone on its own. The Cloud Lifter is going into my Steinberg UR22 USB interface, which is what I use to record vocals, guitar, all that good stuff. And then, like I said, it's going into Audition. This video is going to cover the process that I use to make my voice sound better as far as processing goes for YouTube videos, again, streaming, pretty much anything you want to do with it. These rules apply and will translate to that. So let's jump right in and I'll give you some tips, some tricks. Feel free to follow along if you want or watch the video and then go mess around with it for yourself. Little disclaimer, I do want to let you know, you probably already know this, but never hurts to remind you, everything that I'm doing is super subjective. Different microphone types, how your voice sounds, how it reacts to processing, what type of processing you're doing with it, even how you have your room treated. I am in like a 300 square foot bedroom with zero acoustic treatment with an air conditioner going right now. Those are all factors that are gonna, affect the output of your sound. Keep that in mind as we're going along with this, but let's jump right in and I will show you how I do what I do. So here's the file we've recorded with no processing at all. This is straight from the microphone into the computer. Let's see how our voice changes once we start to process it. So it's not too bad starting off. You might be able to pinpoint some places where it could improve, but overall I'm pretty happy with that sound. You can see at the end here there's a little bit of noise which is coming from my air conditioning unit, and it's just the natural ambient sound that you're hearing of the room. We can take this out at some point. A lot of people tend to start with the noise reduction. I find, at least for the purposes of this demo, it works better and sounds better to my ears if we do it at the end after we've applied all the other processing. So we're gonna leave this for now. We're gonna highlight the whole clip. We're gonna go up to Effects. And the first thing we do, go into Filter and EQ, we're gonna add a parametric equalizer. Now, all of these presets are pretty nice, pretty useful. Everything that Audition has serves a purpose or another. I highly recommend, like with recording your voice, just playing around with these different settings and seeing what works for you. But for this demo, we're going to go with the loudness maximizer, which it sort of pushes, the parametric EQ in general is pushing the gain up at certain key frequencies. You can see here we have the lows at about 120 hertz and the highs at 6,000, bumped up just a touch, which is going to make them sound nice and full. We're going to apply that to the clip. You can see the areas where it was originally sort of thin are now filled out a little bit more. They're gonna sound a lot better too. So let's take a listen to that with the EQ applied. Let's see how our voice changes once we start to process it. So you should have noticed immediately where I pinpointed these areas that were thin, that are now thicker, it sounds a lot more full, a little more well-rounded in the lows and the high frequencies. It gives it a little crispness to the top end, and the low end is very smooth, mellow. The next step we're going to do, highlight the clip again, go into Effects here. We're going to go to Amplitude and Compression. We're going to apply some dynamics processing to it. And just like the EQ, this is pushing the gain up of different frequencies, but we're going to do it just in the high end here, give it a little bit of a linear curve going up. Again, these presets are all very useful. I find Vocal Limiter to be rather pleasing. I am coming from a radio background, so I'm accustomed to using a lot of processing that gives your voice that punchy, really over-processed sound that you think of when you hear radio, but that may or may not be to your taste. Like before, I recommend you play around with all of these and see what works for you. We're going to apply this, and you can see, sort of like a compressor, these frequencies got sort of smushed down a little bit, rounded out, they're more full, and it should have taken away a little bit of the harsh gain. We were going into the red up here. So let's see what that sounds like with the dynamics effect processed. Let's see how our voice changes once we start to process it. Again, should be immediately noticeable how more rounded, punchy it is. Again, I say like a radio announcer voice. It definitely has a little less organic sound to it, but I think it sounds very powerful as far as voiceovers go for videos or podcasts, anything like that. It sounds cool. So we're getting close. Now what we're gonna do, go back into effects, go to amplitude and compression again. Now, oops, I clicked the wrong thing. We don't want any more dynamics. Back to amplitude compression, we're going to go to single band compressor. And you know the spiel, all of these are going to sound very different, maybe good or bad depending on your setup initially. The voiceover presets are really nice to me. Voice thickener, voiceover, leveler, booster, attacker. All those sound pretty cool, but again, we'll do very different things. So we're going to go with voiceover, apply it. It's doing a little more squishing here with the compression. Again, more full-bodied. The sound is really coming out. It's going to sound very punchy now, very processed. Let's give that a listen. Let's see how our voice changes once we start to process it. There's so much warmth and mellowness in the low end that is getting balanced out by not really a harsh, but sort of a sizzling, crispy top end. And that's what gives your voice that punch, those mid-highs, and they really bring out some pleasing frequencies. And especially if you're putting music behind your videos, I find that crispiness to the sound is very good for cutting through background music and stuff like that. So now that we've got a pretty well processed voiceover here, you can see the noise at the end that we mentioned earlier is really pumped up a little bit. It's it's hard to see visually, but you can tell there's a lot more sound here because again, this has been processed just like the vocals were. The sound is getting tweaked and pushed around in a direction that's going to raise the noise. So we want to get rid of it. So we're going to highlight it first of all. Come up here to effects. We go to noise reduction, restoration. We click noise reduction process. Now, before this works, it's going to tell you that you need to define your noise print. And that's the overall level of noise of your file that you want to cut down on. So we've selected it here at the end. It's good to get a solid, 2 to 3 seconds of noise if you can, the natural room tone. Like I mentioned earlier, for me, there's a lot of air conditioning going on, wide open space that's not treated. So we're going to try and make it sound as good as we can get with this situation. So we click the capture noise print button up here, and it's going to take a little snapshot of our noise floor that we are going to want to remove. From there, we highlight the entire clip and we apply this selection to it. You can see a lot of that noise in the end here has gotten either reduced or cut out completely, and that is going to be reflected in the whole clip itself. So let's hear what it sounds like with the noise reduction done. Let's see how our voice changes once we start to process it. Really nice. It's come together quite well. You can hear, or rather you can't hear the noise. You shouldn't be able to terribly well. But overall, we raised the levels and smushed some things around, and we've just brought out the fullness in it. It sounds a lot better than where we started from. So this is just a loose overview of my very basic bare bones process in Audition that I use for editing my videos, and more specifically my sound for voiceovers, music. Again, works great for YouTube videos and cutting through the sound if you have a lot of sound effects and music beds that you're cutting through. This is good to help you hear yourself over those. I highly recommend you play around with all of the settings that I've gone over today to try and find what works best for your sound. It is so subjective, but I wish you the best of luck with it. All right, guys, that's all I got for you for now. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful for you. I hope that was helpful for you and maybe learned a thing or two. If not, thanks for sticking it out anyways. All right, guys, that's all I got for now. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully this was of some help to you, or if not, thank you for sticking it out anyways. I would love to hear your comments, reactions, just tell me what you're using to process and record your sound with. Leave it in the comments below. Tell me about your mics, the plugins you use in your program. Love geeking out about that stuff, so please let me know what you use. And of course, you can always follow me. Twitch, Twitter, Insta, I'm on them all. So thanks again for watching. Peace. I don't like peace. Bye-bye. Toodles. Au revoir. Fare thee well.